What really happens when we die? It is perhaps the most profound and enduring question of our existence, a question that has haunted philosophers, inspired religions, and driven scientific inquiry for millennia. We are born into this vast, mysterious universe. We live, we love, we learn, and then our time comes to an end. But is that end truly a final destination, or is it merely a doorway to something else entirely? We are taught to fear it, to avoid it, yet it is the one experience every single one of us will inevitably share. The journey into that unknown is something we all must face, a universal constant in the equation of life. For centuries, we have relied on faith and philosophy to paint a picture of the afterlife. But what if science could pull back the curtain, even just a little? What if we could examine the very process of dying, not as a single moment, but as a series of events, a biological cascade that we are only now beginning to understand? The moments surrounding our departure from this world are filled with fascinating and sometimes surprising biological and psychological phenomena. It's a journey not just of the spirit, but of the body and mind as they approach their ultimate threshold. Today, we are going to explore this final frontier. We're not just asking what happens after we die, but what happens as we die. We will venture into the space between life and death, guided by the light of scientific discovery and human experience. I will share with you 7 surprising facts everyone should know about this ultimate transition. These are the facts that challenge our perceptions, comfort our fears, and deepen our appreciation for the incredible, intricate mystery of life itself. Join me as we seek to understand our final moments. The first step in this profound journey is a physical one. When the moment arrives, it isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like a slow, deliberate powering down of a complex and beautiful machine. The body immediately begins to shut down. The heart, that tireless drummer that has kept the rhythm of our lives, falters and then ceases its beat. The flow of life-giving blood, which has carried oxygen and nutrients to every corner of our being, comes to a halt. Within seconds to minutes, the lungs take their final gentle breath, and the rhythmic rise and fall of the chest grows still. These are the clinical markers of death, the cessation of the vital functions that define life as we know it. This process, known as somatic death, is the end of the organism as a whole integrated unit. The circulation stops, the body can no longer regulate its own temperature, and a stillness descends. It is the point of no return for the body's systems working in concert. But this is not the end of the story, merely the end of a chapter. While the grand orchestra of the body has fallen silent, a few dedicated musicians continue to play their final notes. The end of the heartbeat and breath is a critical threshold, but it is not the end of all biological activity. It is the beginning of a transition, a quiet and orderly disassembly of the life we once knew. While the heart may have fallen silent, the brain, the very seat of our consciousness, clings to life for a few moments longer. It's a fascinating and somewhat haunting reality. Brain activity continues briefly after the body has clinically died. The brain is a high-energy organ, and without the constant supply of oxygen-rich blood from the heart, its cells begin to starve. Yet they don't all die at once. In the minutes, and in some documented cases, even hours following clinical death, there can be bursts of electrical activity, echoes of a mind that once was. It is as if the lights in the grand theatre have gone out, but a few stagehands are still moving in the darkness. These lingering signals have been observed in scientific studies showing complex brainwave patterns, including gamma waves, which are associated with high-level cognitive functions like memory and consciousness. This suggests that the final moments of the brain are not a simple fade to black, but a complex, perhaps even structured event. Could this be the biological basis for the profound experiences some report near death? We cannot say for sure, but it forces us to reconsider the very definition of death. It is not an instantaneous event, but a process, and within that process, the brain may be having its own final silent and profound experience. Imagine your entire life, every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, and every regret, flashing before your eyes in a single panoramic instant. This is the Life Review, a powerful and commonly reported element of near-death experiences. People who have been revived from the brink of death often describe a vivid, rapid, and intensely emotional replay of their life's events. It's not like watching a movie. It's about reliving and re-feeling these moments, often from a third-person perspective, with a newfound sense of understanding and clarity. They don't just see what they did, they feel the impact of their actions on others. Where does such a profound experience come from? Some scientists speculate it could be linked to that final surge of brain activity we just discussed. As the brain's temporal lobe and other memory centers are deprived of oxygen, they may fire erratically, releasing a cascade of memories all at once. It could be the brain's final desperate act of making sense of its own existence, a neurological summary of a lifetime of data. Whether it's a biological mechanism or something more, the Life Review suggests that in our final moments, we are forced to confront the sum of our existence, not with judgment, but perhaps with a sense of cosmic accounting and ultimate self-reflection. Contrary to the fear and panic we often associate with death, many who have had near-death experiences report an overwhelming sense of peace, tranquility, and even euphoria. The pain vanishes, the fear subsides, and they are enveloped in a feeling of profound well-being. It seems, well, paradoxical. Why would the body, in its moment of ultimate crisis, produce a sensation of calm? The answer may lie within our own internal pharmacy. The brain, facing extreme stress and shutdown, may release a flood of endorphins and other neurochemicals. These are the body's natural opiates, powerful pain relievers and mood elevators. This chemical cocktail could be responsible for creating that sense of peace, detaching the mind from the physical trauma the body is undergoing. It's a protective mechanism, a final act of kindness from our own biology to ease the transition. Some researchers also point to ketamine-like chemicals that the brain might produce under duress, which can induce out-of-body sensations and feelings of bliss. So the journey into the unknown might not be a terrifying ordeal, but a gentle, peaceful release, orchestrated by the very chemistry that has governed our emotions throughout our lives. It's as if nature has its own way of providing comfort at the very end. Once the mind's final echoes have faded and the last chemical signals have been sent, the body begins a new and final transformation. This is the stage where the physical reality of death becomes undeniable. A series of predictable, purely biological changes takes hold. The first is pallor mortis, the paleness of death, which occurs within minutes as blood ceases to circulate and drains from the capillaries in the skin due to gravity. This is followed by algor mortis, the cooling of the body, as it slowly loses its internal heat and equalizes with the temperature of its surroundings. It is a slow return to the temperature of the environment from which it came. Then, a few hours later, comes the most well-known of these changes, rigor mortis. The muscles of the body stiffen and lock into place due to a chemical change in the muscle fibers, specifically a lack of the energy molecule ATP. This rigidity begins in the smaller muscles of the face and jaw and gradually spreads throughout the body, fixing it in place for a day or two before it subsides. These changes, the paleness, the coldness, the stiffness, are not grotesque, but rather the final orderly steps in the body's process of decomposition. They are the undeniable signs that the vessel of life has completed its journey and is now beginning to return its elements back to the universe. For as long as we have been human, we have looked at death and asked, what's next? The answers we have created form a rich and beautiful tapestry of cultural and religious beliefs. These are the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the ultimate unknown. For ancient Egyptians, death was a perilous journey through the underworld, requiring elaborate rituals and a well-preserved body to reach a paradise known as the Field of Reeds. In Hinduism and Buddhism, death is not an end but a transition, a moment of reincarnation where the soul or consciousness is reborn into a new life, its form determined by the karma of the last. In the Abrahamic faiths of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, death is a gateway to a final judgment, leading to an eternal afterlife in heaven or hell. Many indigenous cultures view the spirit as rejoining the natural world, becoming one with the earth, the sky, and the ancestors who came before. These beliefs, while vastly different in their details, all serve a fundamental human need: to find meaning in our mortality, to believe that our existence, our consciousness, our love, is not simply extinguished. They provide comfort, guide our morality, and assure us that death is not a void, but simply a different state of being, understood through the lens of faith and tradition. What does science make of the tunnels of light, the out-of-body sensations, and the encounters with deceased relatives reported in near-death experiences, or NDEs? For a long time, these were dismissed as mere hallucinations, but as more and more credible accounts have emerged, scientists have begun to study NDEs with rigorous methods. Researchers like Dr. Sam Parnia have conducted large-scale studies, like the AWARE study, attempting to find verifiable evidence of consciousness during clinical death. They place images on high shelves in operating rooms, visible only from a vantage point near the ceiling, to see if patients who report out-of-body experiences can identify them. While definitive proof remains elusive, the research has yielded fascinating insights. Science offers plausible biological explanations for many elements of NDEs. The tunnel vision could be caused by a shutdown of the occipital lobe, the feeling of floating by disruptions in the temporoparietal junction, and the euphoria by that rush of endorphins. Yet the consistency of these reports across different cultures and belief systems is striking. Science doesn't necessarily disprove a spiritual component, it simply describes the physical mechanics that may accompany it. The study of NDEs represents a frontier where science and spirituality meet, each offering a different language to describe the same profound human mystery. We have journeyed through the final moments of life, from the body's quiet shutdown and the brain's last echoes, to the profound psychological experiences and the deep tapestry of belief that surrounds our end. We've seen that death is not a single instantaneous event, but a complex and fascinating process. It is a biological cascade, a psychological journey, and a spiritual threshold. The science gives us glimpses into the mechanics, the how of dying, revealing the intricate dance of chemicals and electrical signals that mark our transition from this world. It provides a framework for understanding experiences that were once relegated solely to the realm of faith. These facts don't take away the mystery. In many ways, they deepen it. Knowing that the brain may produce a life review or a feeling of peace doesn't diminish the power of those experiences for those who have them. It simply adds another layer to our understanding. The fear of the unknown is a powerful human emotion, but knowledge can be a powerful antidote. By understanding what happens to our bodies and minds as we approach this final frontier, we can perhaps face it with a little less fear and a little more wonder, appreciating the incredible journey of life right up to its very last breath. Ultimately, the great question remains unanswered. Science can take us to the door, but it cannot, as of yet, tell us what lies on the other side. That remains a personal journey of belief, faith, and hope. While no one knows for sure what happens after we die, these facts shed light on the mysteries of our final moments. They remind us that even in its end, life is an extraordinary and profound phenomenon, worthy of our deepest contemplation and respect. The end of one story may just be the beginning of another, far greater than we can possibly imagine.